Know your rights. It is legal to record them. It is legal to tell them to fuck off. It's legal to tell them that they're stupid and wrong and on the wrong side of history. That is all covered by your First Amendment. Could you get detained? Yes. Could you be brutalized? Yes. That doesn't mean they can take it from you, and don't let them take it in advance.
Top topics. Cool people. You're listening to The Will of the Hunted.
Welcome back to The Will of the Hunted. My name is AJ Nichols. I am a trafficking survivor of 6 years, and I started this show to reclaim my story and help other people share theirs. Today's guest is an outspoken political commentator and a great friend of mine. Last season, she came on and talked about her journey with a borderline personality diagnosis and her online career as a content creator. This time, I asked if she would be willing to come on and talk about the changing role of social media, specifically TikTok, in a Trump-owned world. And the censorship where ICE runs rampant in the streets and we can't say anything. Mm-hmm. Or your account gets axed.
Yeah, it's great.
So she's going to tell us what red flags you should be watching out for while using platforms like TikTok and the best ways to get around censorship if you are still posting and using your voice. Please welcome Mandolin.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. So, I don't know if I'm the best person to give advice. I am one strike away from losing my TikTok. What I will say is, if you can censor yourself, use euphemisms. When people talk about ICE, I've seen a lot of people say frozen water agents. I think it's clever. A bit of a mouthful, but it will get you bypassed. They won't flag your content. Definitely don't use the four-letter word that ends with an I and starts with an N. That is how I almost lost my platform, on the edge. It's really confusing and difficult to want to talk about and let people know what is happening in our communities and across the country when you get flagged for literally explaining the truth. So code words if you can. If you're not sure what to say and still want people to understand what you're talking about, maybe look up some creators who do speak politically and do use censorship. I'm against censorship, but I still want you to keep your platform so you can continue to talk about this stuff. So censor when you can. Don't let them silence you.
Exactly. Could you catch me up to speed on when TikTok has changed ownership since we filmed last, and like what looks different now when you're using it?
So I believe it happened in January when the deal was finally over for Larry Ellison and company to take over. Since then, I have noticed a lot of people just can't talk about files, important files that have to do with people and politicians and everybody. You have to, again, use the coded words. But I'm actually seeing a lot more people being more bold with what they're saying and speaking more outright instead of using coded language. So truly, if you go on any right-wing platforms that cater to that content, they're not as heavily censored.
Yeah.
My hope is, even though I don't like who's doing it, they're probably building profiles on everyone who dissents and spreads information. We might actually end up less censored in the long run, if I'm being honest. Because they typically, in these right-wing political spheres, censor less. You can say these words and not get flagged for them. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I remember you were telling me about groypers last time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a little nervous about them because, as we know, whether you admit it or not, the GOP is dying. We are hearing an extinction burst. They know they're widely unpopular. They mostly win if they can cheat or do voter suppression, voter intimidation, illegal. But in the end, I think people like Nick Fuentes, the starter of groypers, may unfortunately be what the GOP turns to. They are even more to the right. They have even more kind of disgusting opinions about people and the way they want the world to work. So we should be paying attention to them. We should be acknowledging what they stand for, because that may be our opposition next time we're at the ballot box.
Awesome. I'm not that, but like,
Yeah,
thank you for telling me.
It's very bad, but also I think we should be aware. To ignore it is to be blind to what's happening.
And like, are they the group? Are they behind TikTok at all, or is that kind of more of the MAGA crowd at this point?
Yeah, I think that would mostly be more MAGA. I think Groypers are more on like 4chan and stuff like that. But their platforms are pretty popular, and there was a poll done recently that staffers, Congress staffers, which are typically 20-somethings, on the Republican side, it was 1 out of every 4 that consider themselves Groypers. If I'm not misquoting that, it is a huge number. And staffers are people that get things done. They're people that know what's going on as it's happening. They have the inside scoop. We need to be paying attention to them.
Yeah. Since we talked last season, you've continued to be a content creator and be very outspoken politically. Have you noticed a change with the new ownership of TikTok and also a lot of the, things like ICE, doing ICE things? Sorry, frozen water agents.
Yeah, no.
Frozen water agents, like, and you can't really say anything about it. Have you seen anyone like lose their accounts, or what have you noticed in terms like of difference using the app?
Yeah, I have seen personally people that I followed being banned for sharing this kind of stuff. There is an active effort to suppress this information. There was like 2 days last month when the frozen water agents activity was very heightened in Minneapolis, I always say that wrong. We couldn't search for it. It would not show up. You go on TikTok, you put in Minneapolis Now or Minneapolis Live, and results weren't showing up. There was a dedicated effort they had once it changed hands to suppress that information. I think we're just too big. There's too many of us that care about this and that are sharing it. They can't get us all. They just can't.
Do you think people have been like leaving for other platforms? Like I've seen like people talk about like Neptune and Blue Sky, but then I've never actually like seen people actually switch over and really use those fully. Are people still trying to fight to stay on TikTok?
I think so, yeah. Much like I'm sure people who don't like the way it's going still, they don't want to be pushed away from something that they built a community with. That's my experience on TikTok. I've found a community. People don't want to give that away just to effectively like bow down to this regime. So yes, people are getting penalized, getting banned. Like I said, I have 1 strike left and then my TikTok account is gone. But in the meantime, they want us to be silenced. They want us to be scared to talk about these things, and that's just not acceptable. That's not acceptable. We have the First Amendment. Sorry.
It's really interesting how like the free speech crowd, the First Amendment crowd is like the word Minneapolis.
Yeah. There was like a full 24 hours after the murder of Alex Preddy where and we knew things were happening. I could see lives in Minneapolis on other stations like YouTube, but they were censoring it so heavily because there was so much dissent. There were people outright angry and also coming together as a community, and they just wanted to shield us from that. Because if we don't see it, it's not happening.
Right. In terms of your account and like the strikes against it, what did that start as? Did you see like shadow banning, or were you getting like notifications? Like were they being like, hey, you can't talk about this? Or was it kind of like, ooh, community violations, violent speech or hate speech or something?
So the first one, which even though I tried to use kind of coded language to express that 4-letter people that start with an N and end with an I, even though I tried to code that, it must have got reported and taken down. The second time when I tried to show with visual representation what DHS was posting and what those people at that time in Germany were pushing for propaganda. I didn't even provide any commentary, no text. It was simply those two together to see, bar for bar, almost exactly the same thing, like Mustache Man could get them for plagiarism. They just didn't even let it get to the For You page. They shut that one down. The first one, I do believe, was reported, because I did get a few likes. People liked it. It was funny. I was talking about my cat biting them. It was funny. But it must have just got mass reported because they don't like being called what they are. That's not really my problem, though.
Yeah. Do you think they have an algorithm kind of watching for that content, or do you think they have people who are like on the lookout and kind of getting inside information and being like, okay, we need to shut this down, and this down?
Both. I do believe it to be a mix of both. There are AI kind of, I forget the word, like censoring, kind of going over what everybody is saying, that exists. But there is also a lot of money being pushed into ICE and DHS for ICE agents to sit down and go through social media to find where people are hanging out, how communities are organizing, channels that they may have on Signal Chat to like let people know with rapid response teams that they're in the area and something is going down. So I believe it to be a mix of both, and I think it just shows that they realize they don't have the power. So I think there's a big push to silence that, and I also think because there's such a big push, they know they're wildly unpopular. If you have this big mandate to do all of these terrible things, one, your ratings wouldn't be in the toilet, Trump. Two, you wouldn't have to hide this information. Because they're hiding it to me proves their guilt. They know they're unpopular, they know they're not doing the right thing, but instead of addressing that, they're trying to censor creators and everyday people expressing what they're seeing on the ground.
It's just terrifying.
It's disgusting.
I mean, I work with some people who are, you know, either not from the United States originally or who are like first generation. Mm-hmm. And like I have a coworker who like jokes about like, oh, see you guys at camp. And yeah. I'm just like, what do I do? Mm-hmm. Because like I can't imagine like that's so scary and traumatizing that like someone can just show up at your job and like you can't even like plead the fifth or like anything. You're just like, yeah, you're
just abducted by masked men with full immunity, as says JD Vance. I can't imagine what they're living in, but with the fear, I've seen so much community building, mostly in Minnesota, because that's where all of the big stuff's currently happening. Yeah. But I just found out a story about this woman who is part of these rapid response teams, also works full-time, single mom. She also has a breastfeeding baby and is an overproducer. She found out about a few families who the mom who was breastfeeding their baby was detained, is currently detained, has no way to feed the babies. They're rejecting formula. This mom, this one woman, is reaching out, getting donations, getting all these things set up for people in their communities. These are, even if you're not being detained, they're afraid to leave their homes. They're afraid to send their kids to school because at any point, at any time, these masked men can just show up and grab you, and they won't even tell you where they are. They're picking up people in Minnesota and shipping them to Texas. They're shipping 5-year-olds, 2-year-olds to detention facilities in Texas coming from Minnesota. Like, there's no... You can't just log in and see where they are. There's so much secrecy and bullshit. My heart breaks for anybody who is currently being targeted. Regardless, it's not right. It's un-American.
Yeah. When I was working in news, I remember when the ICE discussions really started, and they were kind of talking about, oh, what if they start bypassing laws to go into schools and go into churches, and like watching that happen now in real time is just horrifying.
Trump changed that personally. After he got in, he changed it so they can do that. They weren't allowed to before. But there are, in the same breath, a lot of schools, even around here, nationally at this point, that have, again, these rapid response teams that are generally parents. Parents getting up and going outside and wearing brightly colored vests, networking outside of school zones to make sure these people don't get abducted when they get out of school. Like, that's where we are now. There are human beings who care enough about their community to stand outside of schools all day to prevent children from being abducted by the federal government.
What can like the average person do to either stay informed or help in any way that you have seen?
I mean, I'm obviously one for speaking up, advocacy, but at the same time, I recognize my privilege as a white person who is AFAB, who considers themselves female presenting, all of that. Anybody outside of those norms could just as easily be punished. So I think if you can use your voice, definitely do. If not, circulate information. If you see an article like I was just talking about that woman in Minnesota who started a one-man whole thing for people whose kids get detained or parents get detained, even just sharing information, sharing resources, I think is a really good start. In the end, though, they can't take us all. They physically cannot take us all. So if you feel you want to get actively involved and you're in the New Hampshire area, I recommend looking up New Hampshire MARF, which is the New Hampshire Mutual Aid Relief Fund. It is entirely anonymous. People donate to it, and then they have these pop-up stores in different locations all around the state to provide mutual aid relief. It could be clothing, it could be, tents if they're sleeping outside, it could be food. There are already existing structures. We cannot just start it. There is already things going on in your community. If you want to physically help, do that. If you don't feel comfortable doing that or you have a lot to lose, I recommend just spreading information where you can.
Yeah. And luckily, I know still not amazing companies, but Facebook and Instagram aren't technically owned by the same people who own TikTok. So there's probably is there more freedom of speech, quote unquote, on places like Instagram right now?
I would say yes, for the most part. I can use that lovely 4-letter word on Facebook without a problem. I even said in those words, the DHS is posting propaganda. It didn't get flagged or anything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, because people, even in other countries, are building databases of these frozen water agents.
The water tribe.
Facebook will not allow you to post a link. It will prevent you from posting that link to access that information, which should be public information. Any public servant, we should know who they are. But there's a reason they hide, because they're unpopular.
I saw a video of ICE agents at a gas station in Portland, right down the street from where I used to work. And they had ski masks on, and people were filming them and being oh, who's too scared to show their face?
Exactly. Heckle them. Yeah. Heckle them. It's not against the law to tell them to fuck off. It is not against the law to tell them to fuck off.
And people still have rights.
First Amendment.
Yeah. I've been seeing stuff too about what people should have with them in case those people show up, or what their rights are, what they should say, what they shouldn't say, what the people, the frozen water tribe can and can't do legally, which just doesn't exist anymore because there's no rules. But it's at least good that people are hopefully staying informed if that could apply to them and if they could be targeted.
Yeah, know your rights, know what they can and can't do. An administrative warrant, regardless of what the DHS posts or ICE posts or anyone posts, an administrative warrant is not a free and clear access for them to break your Fourth Amendment and enter your home without a judicial warrant signed by a judge. Know your rights. It is legal to record them. It is legal to tell them to fuck off. It's legal to tell them that they're stupid and wrong and on the wrong side of history. That is all covered by your First Amendment. Could you get detained? Yes. Could you be brutalized? Yes. That doesn't mean they can take it from you, and don't let them take it in advance.
How has it been being a parent in this political climate? I know that your daughter was born in the United States, but is in college and probably hearing a lot or seeing a lot, I'm assuming.
She isn't as informed as me, which I'm thankful for. She can be, 18 and do college, do work, do all of that. But she herself is worried. She is worried that she'll be in the wrong place at the wrong time. They're detaining people without justification, without provocation, because they feel like they're above the law. But I just want to remind everyone, laws only exist as long as we consent to them. So even if you're scared, and I know as a mom, I can't protect her when she leaves the house. She could be in the middle of a raid and not even know it because she's just going about her day randomly. But they only exist, these laws only exist as long as we give them power. And I think pretty soon there's enough people being done with this two-tier justice system that we're not going to have to worry about it much longer. That's my hope.
I hope so too. So you talked about New Hampshire, is it MARF?
Yes, the New Hampshire Mutual Aid Relief Fund. I know they have a Facebook and an Instagram for sure. I'm not sure about other platforms.
What other resources should people know about? And I'll put the links right here on screen.
I don't really have anything off the top of my head. I would just say stay informed the best you can. Don't look for resources in just one place. And if you're looking at the news, look up more than one article. Everybody's trying to sell you something for a different reason. Resources, I would say Google. Google is your best friend for that. I can probably provide you some after.
Okay. I'll definitely put those up if you have anything in mind. So, thank you. And where can everyone follow you?
TikTok, my handle is at @the_electrovert, ELECTROVERT. I'm very outspoken. If you like what I have to say here, I say a lot of it all the time. I keep up to date with politics, what's going on, and again, just want to remind everyone, this stops when we all consider this illegitimate. The powers that be, the laws that exist, it all stops when we stop giving it legitimacy, and I truly, in my heart, think we're close to that. I really do.
It's really cool seeing you be so passionate and like so vocal online when people are getting shut down and like even at the risk of your own platform. So thank you for educating me and for educating other people online. And I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing that information with us today.
Thank you for having me. I believe in the country that I thought I lived in. I know it hasn't been that way for a long time, but I'm not done fighting for it. I'm not done fighting for it. I'm not bending the knee to this illegitimate regime.
Yeah. And we can only hope things get better from here.
They will. I know they will. In my heart of hearts, I know they will.
And people not being afraid to stand up.
Yeah, there is bravery in all of us. Fear is a survival tactic, but don't let it make you a coward. If you have reason to stay home, you have small children, you have, anything like that, do what you can. It is not a one-person job. All of us collectively will get through this, and we will hold them accountable. All of them.
We're looking at you.
Yes, we are.
But yeah, thank you so much. And can't wait to have you on again soon. And we'll stay updated and on what's happening and what we can do about it. So thank you so much.
You're so very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for watching. And please follow Mandolin. Again, her handle is on screen here. And I will be posting all of the links on social media that she shared for those resources. They will be on screen here as well. And just remember that you are not alone. We also have those resources on our website, thewillofthehunted.com/resources. And we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm so sick of it. I just want to
break the ice.
Yeah.
Style of it like a conversation. Gosh, there was a lack of communication. My identity left for interpretation. I want to go naked and shimmy from who you are. But was I need now it's time bad enough.